Gruesome Magazine.
Hello, once again, I'm your host, Doc Rotten, and this is Gruesome Magazine, where we review the very latest in theatrical and streaming horror movies. Each week, the Gruesome Magazine Grue-Crew will take a look at very spooky, scary, and gory genre offerings. Tonight, we are reviewing New Life, available on demand beginning May 3rd, 2024. With me this week are my co-hosts, starting off with the one and only Jeff Mohr. Jeff, how you doing?
I am doing good.
Excellent.
That's the other film. That's the other
actually,
yeah, that's right.
Once Upon a Time. Never mind.
All right. Also joining this week is Crystal Cleveland, the Living Dead Girl. How you doing, Crystal?
I'm great. I am so confused right now. I don't know which way is up or
there is a focus that we're trying to do, and it's just scattered. Also joining us is award-winning filmmaker Christopher G. Mohr. How you doing, sir?
I've woken up in a new life. It's almost like we start. It's almost like we started over. We started recording over.
Yeah.
Maybe we did. Maybe we didn't. All right. We are going to be reviewing New Life, and we're going to start off giving our first impressions. Those first impressions will be spoiler free, and then we'll dive into a discussion about the film. Those discussion will be. We'll get into spoilers. There are spoilers in this one, by the way. So we'll
for sure.
Yeah. And then we'll wrap things up with our score 1 to 5 and our favorite scene. And we hope that you enjoy not only this preview, but many others that we have on the site. And if you do, please hit the like, subscribe, and share with a friend buttons. Each click will help us find more horror fans just like you. Yeah.
Waka.
I like that. Let's get the card and get things going. New Life from Brainstorm Media and XYZ Films, available in theaters and on demand beginning May 3rd, 2024. Synopsis is: a mysterious woman on the run and the resourceful fixer assigned to bring her in. That's not a sentence. There are two unique stories intricately linked as the stakes of the pursuit rise to apocalyptic proportions. Written and directed by John Rosman. The cast includes Sonya Walger. Is it Walger or Wagler? I'm going to say Walger. No, I'm just going to make up a name. Hayley, Erin, and Tony Amendola. Oh my gosh. All right. Jeff, so you're up first. What was your first impression of New Life?
I actually like this a lot. And
Yay.
I'll try not to do spoilers. I like the acting. I like the cinematography. This is like a new director, and I was trying to figure out how he got these people to be in it, and did this so well. And I was noticing the cinematographer had some experience. Was a cinematographer on Satanic Panic.
Oh yeah,
remember that one years ago with
Rebecca Romaine.
I can't think of it. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Anyway, and I like Sonya Walger. I just saw her in For All Mankind on Apple. It was a nice series of alternate space history for the U.S. and, the world, I guess. And I thought the Hayley Erin as the mysterious woman was great. I thought she did a great job. Anyway, I liked it. I liked it a lot, and I think it's got a lot of heart, and I love the parallel stories of these two leads, Sonya Walger and Hayley Erin, and the similarities to them, almost slightly different versions of the same condition, I guess. So anyway, I just enjoyed the hell out of it. I did notice it seemed like, I'll wait, keep that for a while.
Hold on to that. Put that in your pocket.
I liked it.
Hold on.
I watched it twice, and I didn't have to.
Oh boy!
But you do that all the time. That's no. That's
Yeah.
Sometimes I have to.
Sometimes you do it.
You watch crappy movies twice.
What was your first impression, Crystal, of New Life?
Okay, so I don't think this film is for everyone, but I did enjoy it. I think that I agree with Jeff. I really like the parallels of these two women. They're doing things for pretty much the same reason, and they're both, they've both got some issues amongst themselves. I thought the acting was good. I liked the cinematography. I enjoyed the story. I did find it weird and odd at points, and I didn't really know what the point was, other than to tell a story of, maybe not giving up or not giving in or whatever. But that's not really normal for a horror film, but whatever. I was with it. Maybe I was just in a good mood, but I did. I mean, it's, I did enjoy where it went. I had no idea that it was going to take the route that it did, because for the first, half, or maybe I felt like half of the film, you just kind of watch this woman on the run and see this group chasing her, and you have really no idea why. And so I think it was kind of cool how we uncover everything. And yeah, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's for everyone, but I did enjoy it. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the concept and the idea of it. I found the characters very interesting, even though they're incredibly selfish. So yeah, I liked it. I liked it too.
I liked it.
Yeah,
Christopher
I
G.
did.
Mohr, what was your first impression of New Life?
I will say the poster is misleading.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
poster, I didn't know anything about this movie when I was given this to review it. And I thought, and then I started watching it, and based on what I'd seen in the poster, I was like, is she like in space?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's
yeah, I
dreaming
know.
this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was the only person thinking that, because I thought, wait
Oh,
a minute,
no, you weren't.
he's not in a spacesuit. And then it kind of makes sense later on. Yeah, I will say.
But yet she's still never in a hazmat suit either. So.
Well, yeah, but it's I mean, I will say about 20 or so minutes in, I'm like, is this a horror film or is this a disease of the week movie? This was like one of those 80s movies where it was like about certain, just things about like learning about a disease, like ALS and stuff. I mean, it feels, the informational part of it's kind of thrown in your face. Like, and I felt like I was watching one of those like movies where it's just like informational movies. It's just given this is what ALS does or whatever. And really it doesn't get more interesting until you get those details that reveal what exactly is happening. And then to me it gets a little bit more interesting, because then you end up just being any of those sort of like movies like Outbreak or any of those type of things where you're just like, ugh, you get kind of skeeved out, like when it comes to some kind of disease. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, but it's extremely slow burn in the very beginning. And there's like, I think I even looked at the time. I think it was like 10 minutes or whatever. There was like no dialogue. It was just the woman sneaking around. And I was like, what is this? And then I was thinking, is this a horror film that I'm watching? Because it's just, it felt like a TV movie with nothing. It felt like CSI or something where they're just going after somebody. But then it gets a little bit more interesting. Yeah. And still it felt kind of forced in how the elements are coming across. And because it has that kind of stuff that just I think any movies like this now, I just keep thinking, oh crap, the pandemic.
Yeah.
Don't want to go back to that. Yeah. So I thought it was interesting. I mean, I don't know if the woman who's chasing after them was as effective as the main actress, who was interesting, but then I kept kind of like, a lot of their decisions didn't make a lot of sense, because I think if one person believes one thing and something else, maybe you should say something, and maybe that person will stop running.
Yeah.
But that's just my logic brain working.
Oh, there's a lot
when I have issues, but overall it's shot really well. The cinematography is great in scenes, and a lot of the locations and stuff. The sound design and stuff in certain parts is good. What? You
Keep
okay?
going. Nope. You just tricked the nerve. Go ahead.
Okay. You sounded like that cow on the pasture.
No.
But overall,
He rang his bell.
but overall, I thought it was interesting. I wouldn't say I liked it. It didn't really get interesting to a certain point, I think. And by the ending, I wasn't really as vested as what I should have been. But I think kind of hiding the kind of details until later is to the detriment of the story.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of bored and kind of like, good Lord, this thing is slow. You kind of wish it would work at the rate of a certain disease in the movie. But yeah, I thought it was interesting, but I did have issues with it.
Yeah. I'll go even a step further. I didn't like this movie very much at all. I found very little to enjoy. It is horrific at moments. There are times when the full aspect of what they're trying to prevent is thrown in our face, and this movie is structured so oddly and so I was going to say incoherently. It's not incoherent. That's misspoken, but it's disjointed. It's very disjointed. I didn't like the performances, and I didn't like the music choices. There were some music choices in here that I thought were awful.
Oh my God.
Awful. There were some awful, not there was, well, something else, but there were some music choices. I was just like, that's a little much. This movie really rubbed me the wrong way, almost from the onset to the very ending. I really didn't like this movie, and I'll stop there so we can have people talk about why they liked it instead.
Okay, so I will say a problem that I did have with the film is the way that everybody involved handled everything. Because let's be real, the conditions in which they kept this woman, of course, she's going to want to escape. It's ridiculous.
There's a lot of ridiculous going on.
It's like that part I vehemently hated, because the truth is, if she was not showing symptoms, this pharmaceutical company would have her absolutely in a medical facility, not in a jail cell, and they would be studying her and actively be working on how they could fix this. They'd be drawing her blood all the time. So that part is wrong. That's absolutely wrong.
More in a medical facility instead of a dungeon.
That would not have happened. Now, the boyfriend, that's another matter. He's already, where he is for whatever reasons. I don't want to give too much away, but
we're in spoilers, so you can give anything away. We are officially in spoilers.
But also, her not knowing what's happening is an absolute misstep. I don't understand. The thought process there is not clever, not smart, and not that of a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
Just being honest. Because yes, they could still have her under arrest or under containment in a medical facility where they would be, working on this. They knew that she was asymptomatic. So I don't know. That's the only part that I was really bothered by.
Which is a big part of the movie.
Yeah. And because she's like, I'm not going back to that. And I was like, of course she's not. No wonder why she escaped like this. And let's be real. It's not even like a jail. It's worse than a prison.
It's a dungeon. It's a dungeon.
So the whole thing, that part, this is all a metaphor, though. It's not really, I don't think any of it's really meant to be, real. So that's part of the issue. It's about how they're affecting the lives of the people around them and blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's really, and it's fine. I can get behind that. But I think they could have changed things up and made it seem a little bit more.
Yeah, the whole group that the Tony Amendola character and his group, that whole section, everything that's filmed with them and from their point of view, I 100% disliked. And that whole thing with them, every time they were on the phone together, it felt so forced and so fake. It didn't feel like real conversations. It didn't feel like they were really talking, and it felt like it almost came across to me as afterthought, like, oh, we've got to pad this out. Let's get this guy. It's not. I don't say that it is. It just, that's how it came, how I felt it. It just, oh, I dislike that. And I'll let you talk about that because I dislike something else I want to bring up. But go ahead and counter that. The whole conversation.
I didn't think the setup. What you're saying crossed my mind, but the way I looked at it was once he, I forget what his character's name, but Tony Amendola, once his character said, this is private industry keeping it quiet. We're not contacting government. We're not trying to let anybody know. So what they did was try to get her and her boyfriend rounded up as friggin' fast as they could.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the closest thing they could come to a secure, isolated facility. And in my mind, they would have been working on what you're talking about in the background, a transporter. But this happened so fast that, I mean, his gut was already rotten out when she woke up in the morning and called 911, I assume, and they intercepted it. So that didn't bother me. And the way that they talked all the time was he's playing the superior and he's keeping information from her like a spy and on purpose. And so that seemed logical to me. She'd ask him questions and he would give her bullshit. And then finally she blows up at him.
Right. But you're talking story and I'm talking about how it was.
No, but it was a boring.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
You are talking about
I didn't see
the
anything
story.
wrong with the cell she was kept in for that.
No.
Time.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm talking about something else. Go ahead. Sorry. I missed.
Well, that's what Crystal was talking about. I thought
right.
agreeing with her. So that's what I'm talking about.
No.
So,
yeah. Cause I started talking about the conversations they were having and that the whole,
well, and I said, I don't see anything wrong with the conversations.
I found it to be very boring. It was like a boring version of CSI at point.
Well, that's true. But what about the structure, Christopher? I mean, you're a filmmaker. Was that a good way to? I mean, it just felt fake. It just felt forced. The whole conversation, the whole filming of the conversation. No, I'm not talking about the flashbacks.
Trails.
I'm talking about when Elsa was talking to Raymond. When they're having their phone conversations, what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the jail cell. I'm not talking about the girl. I'm not talking about the boy. I'm talking about this.
Well, it was mainly there to give information for the most part, and then even I mean,
exposition.
As much as I like that they're talking about ALS and that kind of stuff, it felt like I was watching a commercial for ALS in the middle of the movie because it was so like informational,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt a little, and it felt like maybe the whole movie was like, well, let's make a movie so we can bring to the forefront issues of the ALS or whatever. And I think,
found that forced and insulting.
Well, I don't see it as insulting because I mean I think it's
look at Jeff.
I think I think it's important to address that, but I think any kind of like and horror has always been a great method for having conversation about racial issues, about societal issues, even about pandemic or how big pharma is doing this or that. It's always been pretty good about doing that. But I think, I don't know. I think there's things like that didn't, and I didn't see any kind of chemistry between these characters when they're having conversations and stuff. To where I think I can understand Doc's mindset in regards to that because every time they had this conversation, it's like, ugh, like, can we get past? I mean, it was like, let's get back to the,
well, he's
the stuff at
manipulating
hand.
her because she's the only one that.
Oh, well, you don't. Yeah, I understand what's happening, but I think that was a story wise, it was a bad way to do that.
Agreed.
And as screenwriting wise, it's not really a good way to do that. Because it felt a little bit too on the nose to where I don't think anybody who watched that, Jeff, didn't get what they're going for. But I think because it felt so forced, it felt like,
oh yeah, it's in your face.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
It's in your face.
It's not even hiding anything.
Oh, Jeff didn't like that.
We scared Jeff off. But I don't know. I mean, I think there's some interesting elements, and I think, and it's like you have that where it's in your face, but then it's like they hide that whole thing for a good part of the first third of the movie to where you don't know what's going on. Why is she running or whatever? Because I think it would have been much more important when you have that kind of issue to where it's like, to where if you'd known from the get-go what was happening, then when the guy coughs and other things, you kind of put two and two together, like something's happening.
But he did, although he did cough earlier in the film. If you notice, he had a big coughing fit before.
Oh, yeah.
The
Before,
boyfriend?
so I feel like they were kind of just like, is it maybe because when he started coughing, I was like, he coughed before.
Well, and I think it's one of those things where you think back when you see they're sick, then you realize that when he reaches over and gets that piece of bacon, he's touched something that she's touched.
Yeah.
So then it makes kind of more sense, although
But see,
his wife didn't touch anything. Well, I guess she could have touched him. So
Okay.
I feel like, I mean, let's be real. If anyone knew that they were that infectious, I would hope that they would. I feel like her as her character would have allowed to the medical testing and stayed because she thought it was the right thing to do. When she got sick, I think the way things played out was a problem. A huge problem. I mean, like, even still, let her know why she's under arrest or why she's in this facility. I mean, there's just, it's a crazy thing to make her think she was thrown into this quarantine and then arrest. I had
more.
I didn't like
interest
that. I
in-
have to admit, I didn't like that. But I did like conceptually the idea of it. I thought it was kind of cool. I did like the two characters. I liked enough about it where I was entertained, but it's not without fault.
well, yeah, and it's like, and I think there's elements there that if they'd done a better job of it, I mean, it's kind of creepy when they go to the hospital in the ambulance and the ambulance goes off
Oh yeah.
and just parks and the guy
Started
runs
out,
off,
that was
and you're
Yeah.
like, oh
that was
crap,
good.
what is and then it becomes a
Yeah.
little bit more nefarious, like, and it's those moments that got more interesting for me, or even when the at whatever she is, detective or whatever,
Yeah.
science detective or whatever, when she shows up at that house and then we almost have like a zombie moment between
there is a couple
husband-
Oh,
zombie
they are
moments,
like
yeah.
zombies because
They're
they're
zombies,
real
yeah.
angry.
They're like-
Yeah.
So then I was like, oh wow, okay, now we get some horror stuff. This is the horror I've been waiting for.
Yeah, I will say that I was more invested when she encountered like the couple, and when she, and by she I'm talking about Jessica, the character that's
Yeah.
running around, and she encountered her, the Molly, the character that had the bar, and the relationship there, and the whole thing about them wanting to help her, I was really invested in that. And then of course what happens is so tragic, and then of course Molly wants to help her, and what happens to her is tragic, and then turns very horrifying when Jessica has to encounter it, because she didn't encounter what happened to the old couple. She doesn't know anything about that.
Right.
So that I found interesting, but the whole thing focusing on the Elsa character just didn't sit well with me, and the way she communicated with the people, not necessarily what the story was trying to say through the communication, but the actual way the film shared how they were communicating.
To me, it would slow down the movie every time we had to deal with any of those conversations that are happening. And
I
I
think they were trying to make it seem more exciting. I think they were trying to make it seem like it was like this whole, like, like someone mentioned, what y'all mentioned, like a procedural drama or something. Like they're like, we've got this massive group of people and we're going to track her down.
Yeah, but I mean, like, again, there's TV shows, CSI and stuff that do a better job of it than this does, and they only have like 45 minutes to tell the story. And so you have to, I think something like that, you definitely have to build or have some kind of build to it. But then it kept taking the air out of it every time, and then you have those moments where, like, you think there's some kind of build because you have like the couple attack or even the bartender in their house. You have those scenes, but then there's moments like, again, when the one was chasing after her and all she had to say, you're going to spread this sickness. You're going to get more.
She
people
didn't
sick,
care. And so that upset me too, because she knew then what was happening. And
when she was in the barn. Okay.
When she was
when she's on the
street. I mean, at the end.
Oh.
Yeah.
She could have told her on the
knew.
street.
Oh, you're talking about
yeah.
talking about Elsa's character. I thought you're talking about Jessica, the one that was infected. She didn't really know anything about until she was in the barn.
Was infected. she at a point she was disgusting to me because of the choices she made. The moment you know that you're like that, what are you doing?
But
Why
she
are
didn't
you
really know
still
until
trying to
she
run away?
saw Molly.
No, but she still knew. And here she is running away from her. It's like just that's effed up. That's wrong. On
Oh, no, I
every
agree.
level,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
wrong. Like you're a bad person if you know that contact with you is going to do that to people and you're still trying to get across the border and that's awful. I was like, so just kill her and be done with this.
Just
Well, you
This
know
is
what?
ridiculous.
I think we can all agree that the main theme of this movie is don't pet strange dogs.
Don't pay. And, well, there's a whole conversation about that we're going to have offline. Let's go ahead and wrap this.
Funny.
Let's go wrap this up. Let's give our score 1 to 5 and our favorite
Yeah.
scene. Crystal, you're up first.
Okay. I'm going to give this a 2.75 because I think it's totally it's above average, like everything's done well and I enjoyed it. Like I get it. I could see where y'all found it dragging. I just enjoyed the characters. I thought the acting was good. So, actually, okay, so I guess it's a scene. There's a point. What's funny is I know that y'all didn't like when she was talking to the crew back at Central Hub or whatever, but there's a point where she's trying to stay behind and see if anyone has been like infected, and he's like, well, we don't know about this, we don't know about that, and she's like, it's a small effing town, Vince. Figure it out. And I laughed so hard.
I
It's
did
like
too.
you've got
That was
this
good.
little poop town, and the dude's acting like, I don't know what to do. So that was kind of funny for me. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Christopher, how about you? What was your score and favorite scene?
I'll give it a 2.5.
Okay.
Again, I don't particularly like it, but I think it's shot well. It has a few scenes that really work, and I think if more of the film were like that, it probably would have been overall a better film in general. I appreciate what they're doing, even with that, incorporating the ALS elements in it as well. But at the same time, it just didn't work for the specific story, at least the way it came across. As for favorite scene, I mean, it's got to be the attack from the old lady scene.
Okay. Yeah, that was.
She was unhinged.
Well,
She
and
did
I think,
good.
but it's one of those things to where,
Yeah.
like, it's one of those moments where you have a vulnerable protagonist,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't know what's happening with this other person, and you're like, she can barely walk sometimes,
Yeah.
and she's got to run away from
Yeah.
this. And I was thinking, oh crap, don't walk closer, and you don't know and then you don't not sure what the woman's happening because there's stuff coming out of her mouth,
And
then when
she didn't know. So I have
she
to.
didn't know.
Well, she
Yeah.
thought it was
Yeah,
something else at that time because they were hiding it
she
somewhere.
had no idea.
and I think
what was happening.
I think that's one of those moments where not knowing, and even the protagonist not knowing, just made for a very tense and exciting, amazing scene. Especially when she turns around and her eyes are all like, white and stuff, and it's just, and it's like, oh crap,
Yep,
we've got zombie. It's like 28 days later with more, disease. But yeah, I thought that scene was very effective. I think if everything was on par with that, or at least could build to that, this film would have been a much more effective film for me. But just that scene alone, I think it's a middle of the road just based on that scene. Otherwise, I would have given it a lower rating.
Yeah, that scene is the highlight of the film, I will say. Yeah, I dislike this film. It's a 1. It shouldn't have been made.
What a what?
Really? No, I really did.
Wow.
This movie pissed me off. I
It
really
just
didn't
hit
like
you
it.
wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
really
yeah.
did. I will. If the scene that Christopher picked was really good. I also liked the scene with Molly, but I liked everything with Molly. I'll take all the scenes with Molly when just how how they interacted, and of course the final scene with her was very horrifying. But yeah, I'll just leave that hanging there and take all the hate. And we'll just give Jeff. We'll just presume that Jeff wanted a 4.5 on this. We'll just
Yeah.
all right.
His favorite scene was the whole movie.
The whole movie is his favorite scene. Yeah, everything that.
Yeah.
He's gonna hate me for that. Yeah. All right. There you go. That's our review of A New Life. Check it out and leave comments below, and you can just tell me how absolutely wrong I am. I'm ready for it.
I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised. I didn't
this is-
realize
this is-
how
this
much
is-
you disliked it.
This is at the bottom of my list for the year. Yep.
Oh,
Sorry,
wouldn't-
sorry, everybody involved.
I
It just
definitely
rubbed me the wrong
wouldn't go
way.
that
There's
far.
things that
That-
pissed me
that-
off. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. I get it.
Before I
Movie
bury
pisses
myself,
off.
yep.
Yep.
Before I bury myself any further, let's get out of here. Crystal, Christopher, thank you for joining me. It was a lot of fun.
Thanks for
And
having
Jeff
me.
too,
Yeah.
even though we don't know what happened yet. Somebody here I haven't seen, but maybe we're going to presume the internet went out.
He's
Yes.
caught
I mean,
the
it
evil
happened.
eye.
We're gonna
Yeah.
presume he didn't rage quit. Although he
Yeah,
may
no,
have
he
rage
didn't,
quit,
yeah.
but we're gonna say
Maybe, but no, I doubt it.
I could convince you they
No.
did. I could convince you they did. All right. Let's go ahead and get out. Let's say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.